Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members save even more with limited-time doorbuster deals. Save $5 on 24-count Contractor's Choice 42-gallon trash bags, now just $14.78. Plus, get your choice select DeWalt Elite Series saw blades for $9.98. Not a Pro Rewards member? Join for free today at Lowe's. Valid through 9/17. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowes.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
It's easy to know you want to make a change in your life, but it is hard to actually do it. How to Be a Better Human from TED is a podcast for when self-help feels too daunting or just not for you. I'm Chris Duffy, the host of How to Be a Better Human, and trust me, I do not have it all figured out. But join me as I talk to experts about actually attainable ways we can try to improve our lives. Whether it's facing fears, setting boundaries, cleaning your house, or all sorts of other topics. Find How to Be a Better Human wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello to everybody who's been working on the railroad all your livelong days. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. I know not everyone loves a long intro. I get it. Skip about 7.5 minutes ahead. You'll get to the call, but I'm begging you, if you want to come to the Beautiful Anonymous episode 500 taping in October, get your tickets sooner rather than later so I can relax. Anyway, 7.5 minutes, you'll be right at the beginning of the call. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous, the show where we look at the human condition one anonymous conversation at a time. I feel very lucky to be here speaking with you. I feel very, very lucky to create art in a country that has, by and large, dedicated itself to free speech for my entire life. I feel very, very lucky that I get to say things into a microphone, send them out into the world, and that I don't have to worry about government goons knocking on my door. I have not had to worry about that in a realistic way. For the bulk of my career, I will say I think a lot of us have seen the recent developments with Jimmy Kimmel, and this one really, really looks like the government controlling media, and it's scary, and I have to call it out right away. As a comedian, as a creative person, I have to say, it's scary. I will tell you, I recently, just last week, was elected to be a part of the Writers Guild of America East Council, which makes me an official labor union organizer. And a big part of why I ran was because of what happened with Colbert. And the day before I was elected was when Kimmel got yanked. And I ran telling the late night writers in my union, we come from the same world and I'm going to have your backs hard. I feel like I got to do that. I feel like it's very real. And all I would say, everybody, is thank you for allowing me to vent about this on our feed here. Understand that it feels so real to creative people. Feels like an actual boot coming down on the throat of free speech. And I need to amplify the reality of that feeling. And I thank you for hearing it. Awkward segue, because I'm now going to plug the fact that I have a special coming out. It's been available for pre-order for a while, but guess what? It's coming to YouTube for free. And guess what? If you're listening to this on Tuesday the 23rd, the day that this episode drops, we're actually doing a YouTube premiere where it's going to premiere tonight, and I'll be there chatting with people, present for the premiere, answering questions, and I appreciate any views, any kindness, any support. I will reiterate that the premiere is happening on YouTube. YouTube is a very inspiring platform because there's no barriers of entry. I'm also a little, it scares me, if I'm just being honest, because the commenter brigades can have a lot of fun. And if you're out there and you support me and you want to come to that premiere, and if you enjoy it, I'm not saying lie, but I'm saying if you enjoy the special and you leave nice comments, that affects things in a very, very positive way. and it allows just the trollish shit talkers. I don't usually curse in the intro, but let's be honest, that's what they are. It helps dilute things so that their effect is not so massive. So come hang out at that premiere. Leave a nice comment. Thank you guys so much in advance. The final thing I'm going to plug, the East Coast, we got the Beautiful Anonymous episode 500 live taping. It's happening in Jersey, of course, Friday, October 17th. It's going to be awesome. It's in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey at Smodcastle Cinemas. You can find the tickets at punchup.live/Chris Gethard. We have only sold 45 tickets at the time of this taping. Generally, these things turn out fine, and everybody buys their tickets last minute anyway. I will just say, if you're planning on coming and you wouldn't mind buying your ticket soon, it will allow me to have less heartburn in my life, because I can't think of too many things sadder than trying to throw a big party to celebrate the episode 500 taping in a room that is 1/4 full. That would be bad for the ego. It would be bad for the confidence. And as you've all learned over the years, I like being extraordinarily honest with the Beautiful Anonymous fan base. Again, most ticket sales for live events now happen in the last week before the live event itself. So most of the tickets that sell are going to happen between October 10th and October 17th. That's how it goes. It's not how it used to go. And I will say, 45 to the 45 people who have purchased your tickets, thank you. Can't wait to meet you. Planning a lot of fun stuff to make that not just a live taping, but like a live taping on steroids with more to it. But if you're sitting here going like, oh yeah, I keep meaning to buy my ticket for that, please let's do it sooner rather than later, so that your guy Chris can take a deep breath and relax just a little bit. And let's also be clear, everybody, most entertainers don't tell you this. They just stress out in silence and don't tell you that. I tell you, yeah, no, that stresses me out. That being said, I would love to see you there, so sincerely. So if you're on the East Coast, if you're in Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, take the trip. Atlantic Highlands is such a great town, one of the best small town main streets in New Jersey. You could spend the day at Asbury Park doing all the Asbury Park stuff, which has become one of the hip spots on the Jersey Shore. You could come on down, experience my home of New Jersey, and hang out, spend a few hours, listen to the live taping, be a part of the history of the show, and help chill me out because ticket sales are low and I need to relax about it. Thank you in advance. This week's episode, I love it. I love it. We just had our tugboat captain a few weeks back. We're now having a little bit of a transportation renaissance. We have a rail worker, which is another culture I'm fascinated by. I can't tell you the amount of times I've sat and read about hobo graffiti, and then how that led me to not hobo-specific graffiti, but the long culture of freight train graffiti. I mentioned it on the show. If you haven't seen it, and you probably haven't seen it, it's a very small, there's a documentary called Who is Bozo Texino, and I think it is great. It's all about the culture of people who write on the sides of freight trains with chalk. The exact type of thing that if you've been listening to the show for a while, you're like, yep, that's the type of thing Chris Gethard gets obsessive about for 3 weeks, learns 5 facts that he never forgets about, and they wind up on the show sometime. This is that week. I think there's such a beautiful tradition of railways in America. I also think they represent so much, right? They represent our actual connection to one another. They represent our ability to get from one part of this massive, massive country to the other. But they also represent areas in which we're falling behind. I think that there's a lot of talk about how Japan, Europe, there's areas of the world where rails have advanced far beyond what we've managed to pull up in America. There's a lot of people who look and wonder what that says about America. And here we have a worker who's one regular guy, but who knows that he's part of this lineage, part of this history, part of this tradition, while also just being a guy who wakes up and goes to work. He's able to tell us about being those things at the same time, being a regular guy and being part of a tradition. He's really able to give me all the train stuff I want, and then also able to talk to me about the family he comes from, the union he's a part of, the conversations had out there on the rails when you're working, the things you see, the people you meet. I love this call. I think you will too. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hey, is this Chris?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
It's pretty good. I would say I'm even more tired than usual is how it's going. And you can hear it in my voice, but I'm excited to talk to you.
Oh, well, that's good. Something that I want the world to know, because I've often wondered it, is a beeping noise does in fact indicate when you're on the show.
Yeah.
I've always wondered that because people always ask, is this Chris? And I thought, wouldn't they know from the beep? But now I know, and now everyone else can know.
You're airing out all our secrets here.
Yes. I also have a conspiracy theory about the show.
About this show?
Yeah, I think the robot voice did say Chris Gethard at the beginning. And you went and changed the recording of all the old episodes so that it doesn't anymore.
I don't even know what robot voice are you even referring to? I don't even know. Is there a robot voice at the beginning of the show,
so
Andrea? Yeah.
Yeah.
The robot voice.
I mean, this is probably going way back in the lore of this show, but you had asked about changing it once.
Oh, you mean the one that sounds like an old school answering machine, that voice?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, okay, got it. I know what you're referring to now.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, way back when you asked people if you should change it, and a lot of people said that it should say Chris Gethard again. You said it never said that, but I'm just not convinced.
I do kind of feel like I remember it saying you'll be on with your host Chris Gethard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it's been a long 9 years, man, and I'm pretty tired today. Those are pretty, as far as conspiracy theory goes, those are pretty gentle ones. These days, when I hear about conspiracy theories, they're usually much darker and nastier than that.
Yeah, that's a pretty harmless one.
How are you? How's things?
Things are good. I was thinking about starting the show ribbing you a little bit, but if you're a little tired,
no, go for it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I wanted to say was, recently you were talking to a caller, and you said that Oak Tree Road has a lot of great Indian food, and that it's in Edison or Metuchen. And I just want to say that it's in Iselin, New Jersey.
Oh, it's in Iselin.
And if you want, I could send you a map of New Jersey and teach you about the
are you from New Jersey?
I'm not even from New Jersey. That's the irony.
So you're going to send me a map of New Jersey when you're not even from New Jersey? The balls. That makes me think. That makes me know you're from Pennsylvania. That's Pennsylvania behavior right there. True or false?
True.
Yeah, that's a Pennsylvania move right there. No, you can save your map of New Jersey. And for anybody listening, questioning my New Jersey credibility, I will say I defy anyone to look at the area surrounding Edison, New Jersey, and be able to just off the top of their head identify a road. Because you got Edison, then Metuchen's the donut hole inside Edison. Islin's right there.
Yeah.
Ford's is right there. There's like all these different towns. Menlo Park is right there. There's all these different towns that are just kind of crossing together. They're just vaguely. Some of them are part of Edison. Some of them are not. And I apologies to the fine folks of Oak Tree Road in Iselin, New Jersey. My bad, but that's a pretty For a Pennsylvania guy to offer to send me a map so I can spruce it up, first of all, very funny. Second of all, no need. This is a conundrum that we all deal with, trying to sort out. Woodbridge, they all slam into each other down there on Route 1. Route 27, they all cross over.
Yeah, it's a busy place. I get it.
Indeed. Now, why are you so well acquainted with Jersey that you know what's in Iselin and what's not?
So for a living, I am on the railroad. So I cover a wide range of areas, but a very skinny. So if you venture off the tracks, I don't know anything about it, but on that, the little skinny strip is where I'm knowledgeable.
I love it. We recently had an episode with someone who works on a tugboat. A railroad's another passion of mine.
Yeah.
So many thoughts about railroads. I need to know, what do you do on the railroad?
The signals.
You do the signals. So are you...
Yeah, the signals.
Are you on the trains, or you go to the signal areas to make sure the signals are functioning, throwing signals? What do you mean by signals?
So it's maintenance away. So we work on the tracks, and we make sure that the signals and everything that affects the signals are working properly.
That's cool.
There's really, I would say, probably like three big things involved with the signals. One is the tracks themselves are a circuit, and that lets you know where the trains are. Then you have the switches, so you can go from one track to another, right? Yeah. Because, obviously if you're making a turn, you want to go slower, and it's the same thing. If you're crossing over, you're going to get a slower signal. And then grade crossings is another big thing that signal employees do. Warning traffic of a passing train.
So you travel to sites, work on the signals. You're not on the rails, on the actual train cars going up and down.
No, I'm not on the trains. I am in the little bungalows that are next to the tracks.
Do you still feel like there is, there's an older perception that there's a culture of the rails and that there's railway people? Do you feel like you are part of that culture? Does that still exist?
Yes. It's very very unified. Like, we all have a deep respect for each other, and like an understanding of what we do. And in a lot of ways, it is like traveling back in time. I remember when I first got started, I went to, because nowadays there's dispatchers in one remote location that control pretty much everything. But there used to be block operators. So there used to be people up in the towers that controlled just their one interlocking. And one of the first things I did was I cut over one of those block operators to the dispatcher. And I went up to where those guys were working with big levers, throwing big levers back and forth, and, talking to each other with, information over the radio. And I thought, I feel like I just went 100 years in the past when I walked through this door. And a lot of the railroad is like that. You're doing a job, and you just think, people have been doing what I'm doing for over 100 years now. And, I think that helps build a camaraderie with each other. That
I love it.
It's unique. There's nothing else like it.
Love it. My understanding is that, at least in the Northeast, and you'll correct me because I might have this wrong, but you'll know what I'm getting at. I believe it's Amtrak generally owns most of the tracks in the Northeast, and then your New Jersey Transits, your Patcos, your Freight Lines, they rent their rail time from Amtrak. Is that how it works?
So like the main corridor is owned by Amtrak, but SEPTA and Transit and Long Island Rail, they each have their own tendrils that go out, and like the Gladstone branch and Montclair University and all those are owned by New Jersey Transit.
They are. So, but like the Northeast Corridor is the Northeast Corridor. That's the big one that so many trains share, right? And that's the one that basically goes from Boston to DC.
Yes.
So, who's actually paying your bills when you're working on these signals? Because so many different trains are using the same signaling systems. So, who pays you?
I mean, the company that ultimately the company you work for is who pays you. But it's,
you don't have to say specifically to out
you can
yourself.
tell yeah. I mean, but you can tell by like the numbers that you put in, because you charge to what interlocking you're working, and if you're using a certain number that's reimbursable, then that money is ultimately coming from not I don't know how to say it, the lessee, the company that's leasing the tracks.
I love all of this. Do you ever encounter rail riders? Do you ever encounter old school train graffiti? People should know there's graffiti that a lot of people think of as graffiti that came out of the hip hop scene. Most of it started in New York, in the Bronx in the 70s, Upper Manhattan in the 70s. It's broad strokes. I'm not an authority on it, but there's also a many, many decades old, a lot of times people writing in chalk that's a totally separate, like a very similar in that it goes on trains instead of subways, a lot of it on freight cars. But when you come to learn of this, there's fascinating. There's like little symbols and drawn stick figures and faces that have been drawn on trains for decades. Colossus of Rhodes, Bozo Texino. I'm a little weirdly obsessed with freight train graffiti. Do you ever encounter any of this stuff or any of these people out there?
I've never seen anybody doing the graffiti, but I do appreciate, I'm the type of guy that likes going to art museums and stuff. So I feel like some of this graffiti is, on par with some of that art sometimes. I mean, I've seen some graffiti in tunnels that were honestly some of the best art I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I see like phrases, like a specific tag, and I'll see it in one spot on the railroad, and then, I go 100 miles the other way, I'll see it over there too. So I don't know who's doing it, but it's somebody that's going up and down the railroad.
I love it.
Or a group, I don't know.
Yeah. I love, there's a great documentary called Who is Bozo Texino? That's basically trying to figure out, there's this piece of chalk written freight rail graffiti that's been drawn for decades, a figure with a cowboy hat. It says Bozo Texino. And this documentary, it's a black and white documentary, and it's great. And it tracks down a bunch of these artists. And my whole life, I have been very, very attracted to and blown away by art that you realize these people are not doing this to ever try to make a dollar. They're not doing it to try to get fame. They just are on some level trying to demonstrate that they exist and that they're out there and that that's the end goal. And I think that art that's born out of that level of necessity is really fascinating to me. And train graffiti is a very big representative of that.
Yeah.
Now, there's also people who are obsessed with trains. There's train guys out there. When I used to work at Weird New Jersey Magazine, we wrote enough about stuff associated with trains that we had a number of people who followed us who were train guys. And these types of guys I'm talking about. There's these guys out here that if they met a person like you and found out you worked on the switches, they would want to sit you down all night and talk about historic trains that used to run on the tracks that you've worked, the type of switching, the years that the switches were upgraded to more modern, less analog, more digital switches, all this stuff. Are you aware of these people? Do you enjoy sitting down with them? Do you get nerdy about train stuff as much as they do, or are they a nightmare?
Yeah, so there's a few things there. So there are the people who stand there with their cameras and, take picture or videotape the train going by. And my thoughts on that is there's already a video on YouTube of this train going by. Why do you need your video, I do feel like that is a little bit annoying, but I mean, that's their thing, that's their hobby. I don't want to, give them too hard a time.
That's fair.
The funny thing about that is, because another thing about railroads is they have their own police departments. Each railroad has their own police.
The Bulls.
Yeah, including the freight companies. And they're the only Fortune 500 companies with their own police department. That's kind of a weird reality, but that's how it works. But their focus, particularly after 9/11, shifted towards terrorism. Mm-hmm. And that was, there was an incident in Spain, in the early 2000s. So it's not completely unfounded. So every week they're saying watch out for this, watch out for people asking too many questions, watch out for people being suspicious, videotaping even, they'll say. And every day you're out there and you see people videotaping and you're like, should I be calling the police? But, it's obviously just some really nerdy guy with his son, videotaping trains going by. So you know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've also heard that, there's been a couple infamous train disasters. I think one of the big ones was in Ohio, real big derailment with chemicals on the car. Very bad scene.
Yeah.
I've read that a lot of this is that there a lot of stuff happening with corporate, how do I want to phrase it? Well, I'll say it, corporate greed, labor movement stuff. The trains are kind of a microcosm of it. I've read that some of these train accidents just come down to the companies are sometimes those of us who see, you'll sometimes see a freight train that's literally, a mile long, and it looks endless. And I've been reading that sometimes it can come down to they will at times be running these trains that when you see them, if you're on the highway and you see one from your car, you see one go over on a bridge and it just seems endless. There's sometimes as few as 2 employees on that entire train, and that some of the increase in accidents or fear of accidents just comes down to that of just they're not paying for the proper personnel anymore. It makes me wonder, you have a view of American infrastructure. Trains are something in America that I think a lot of Americans look at and go, man, Japan has these bullet trains. Europe is known because you can bounce around from city to city on high-speed trains. I think a lot of people look at American trains and kind of go, man, we just kind of can't get our act together and keep up with some of the other people who are, the technology is advancing and the services are viewed as much better. What's your view of this as an infrastructure guy? You're working on the infrastructure of American trains. Is the infrastructure of America hanging on by a thread as much as we all kind of have this creeping feeling it is? I think we all know the answer to this question. I think we've all figured it out. If it's not the railroads, it's the airports, it's the roads, it's everything all at once. Anyway, we'll be right back. From fitness routines to mental resilience, navigating personal goals to tackling burnout, we all need a little help being human. That's what the Life Kit podcast from NPR is here to do. If you're looking to move with more intention or you just need thoughtful guidance on living better, Life Kit delivers strategies to help you make meaningful, sustainable change. Life does not come with a manual, but every day you're making choices, some big, some small, that shape the direction of your life. Life Kit offers real stories, relevant insights, and clear takeaways to help you meet those decision-making moments with confidence and clarity. I've been listening to Life Kit. It is a great show. I love NPR. It absolutely meets that NPR bar of quality you've come to expect. And the varied nature of the topics is so impressive. One that I think so many of us could use right now. There's an episode all about how to talk to your kids when the news is scary. How do you help kids process scary stuff in the news? Right there. So helpful. Helpful for the kids, helpful for all of us adults who need to understand how to process this. There's so many reasons to listen to Life Kit. I like it because there's thoughtful conversations. That's right up my alley, as you know. A lot of conversations unpacking the emotional and the practical side of wellness. There's actionable guidance. There's things you can actually use. There's not a lot of fluff. There's no judgment. And there's trusted voices and expert advice. It's a really great, well-rounded show with a beautiful mission, and it fulfills that mission. Get help tackling common issues like relationships, finances, parenting, and your career. Then walk away with a game plan you can implement right away. Life Kit isn't just another podcast about self-improvement. It's about understanding how to live a little better starting now. I really love NPR. I think Life Kit is really such a good representative of an NPR show, and it's one that I totally love that they've teamed up with us because it makes so much sense to me. I think if you're a beautiful anonymous fan, you're going to love it. Listen now to the Life Kit podcast from NPR. This episode is brought to you by IQBAR, our exclusive snack and hydration sponsor. IQBAR is the better for you plant protein-based snack made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQBAR products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, you get 8 IQ Mix sticks, you get 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQBAR products are entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners, and I'm telling you, they are awesome. They're really, really good. I am a true convert. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQBAR's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. I've told you many times, more often than not, what I have for breakfast is an IQBAR. And when I travel, I always have a few in my bag. They are the just perfect grab and go. The flavors are all great. There's no flavors that are bummer. When I reach into a box that has multiple flavors, I've never once gone, I'd prefer this one. Whatever comes out is good. My wife is completely obsessed with the IQ Joe coffee sticks, as she calls them. When I tell you that they are a borderline addiction for her, that's not an exaggeration, but it's a really good addiction because they get her going in the morning. They make her filled with happiness, and she so genuinely loves IQ Joe. I will tell you that IQ Mix has become a factor in my life in a way I never anticipated it. It's good. It hydrates you. The flavors are on target, and I have them every day at this point. I'm getting to a point where I go, man, I just feel more awake, more with it when I get all the benefits of IQ Mix. I'm not saying that that's not a thing that's written down. No one's asking me to read that off a page. It is just legit. And right now, IQBAR is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQBAR products, including the sampler pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. That's BEAUTIFUL to 64000. BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Thanks again to our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call. Is the infrastructure of America hanging on by a thread as much as we all kind of have this creeping feeling it is?
Chris, I've been trying to get my bosses to understand that in order for me to do some of the things I have to, because most of it is stuff from 100 years ago. You know, we got giant relays that click and clack depending, you know, if the switch is normal, this relay goes up, and it's, you know, it's all Boolean logic, you know, because a relay is essentially a 0 or 1, which is what computers are good at. And they have updated some things to computers, right? So, but to interact with those things, I'm using a computer with one of those old connectors with 9 little pins on it. That's running Windows 7, which you can't even connect to the internet because it's, it's dangerous. So yes, when they say that the air traffic controllers are using, whatever, MS-DOS or Windows XP or whatever they say they're using, I 100% believe that because I see it here. It's just, you find whatever scrappy old thing still turns on and you work with it and you go with it. I mean, our dispatchers' radios were running on MS-DOS just a few years ago.
I've heard that a ton of American banking there's now a computer language that's pretty much a dead language that's not used anymore in computing, but that when banks converted to computing, they used this language. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's now kids studying this language, and you can get a decent job because it's effectively becoming a thing where a lot of banking is run off computers that the programming language is effectively hieroglyphics. It's a dead language that's very, very hard to decipher to the modern eye. And you sit here, you go, man, the planes, the trains, the banks, hearing you say, when you said like one of these 9-pin connectors, I'm like, I remember those things when you had the dot matrix printer and you're plugging it into the back of the computer and your computer takes up the whole desktop. I remember those connectors. So you go, man, we're running off of those. And these trains are sometimes carrying, millions of dollars of merchandise or deadly chemicals. And so much of their routing comes down to a 9-pin cable that most of us haven't seen in 25 years. This is not great.
Yeah, and just another way that the infrastructure is built for a time gone by is one of the reasons that we're not as good as Japan or whatever is because our passenger trains are late. Yeah. And that's, especially bad in, not here in the Northeast, but, in the rest of the country, because those are all owned by freight companies. And the law is, even though the freight controls it, right, it's their dispatcher, they have to give preference to passenger trains because it's carrying people,
Yeah.
But if it's just a single track, and the only way for two trains to go past each other, or through each other if they're going opposite way, is to pull over in a siding. But these sidings are built for freight trains of yesteryear. They're not built for that 1 mile or even 3 mile freight trains that we have today.
3 miles long. And they'll have 2 workers on it for 3 miles. Oof.
3 miles. And the sidings are only like a quarter mile long at a lot of the times. So even if they wanted to follow the law, even if they wanted to do it right and give preference to the passenger trains, they couldn't because the sidings aren't big enough. And so now you end up with trains being 3 hours long because, it waited for this train to just chug on by.
So it's very eye-opening, right? We'll build a 3 mile long freight train because that moves product, that moves money, that gets things from point A to point B has to happen. So we'll spend the money on the 3 mile long train, but we won't spend the money on the infrastructure to support the 3 mile long train. And therefore, when I'm trying to get into the city and my train is backing up between North Broad Street and Secaucus, sometimes that's just because we got to get this freight train out of the way. So we're sitting here because it's 3 miles long and the system is not catching up to what it needs to be to support that.
Yeah.
Damn. How'd you get into trains?
Yeah, isn't that wild? Nepotism.
Family business.
The way everyone else did.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it you part of a union? Are the trains unionized?
Yeah, it's pretty much universally unionized. Anybody that's like out in the craft, it's there are several unions, but yeah, it's the railroads is something that's pretty much universally unionized.
That's good.
I think like Union Pacific dispatchers aren't. That's like the one exception.
So you got an uncle in the union, you got a dad in the union, the legacy, that helps you get in. That's the type of nepotism that you're talking here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I do. So because earlier you asked about just people out on the streets that are interested in trains, but there are people that work here that are into trains. There's a couple terms. Rail fans is that's kind of more of like a general. Anybody can be a rail fan, but they call the people that also work here. They call them buffs because they're train buffs. So you have to walk the line between not being a buff, because that gets on everyone's nerves, but there are certainly a lot of people here that love to, watch the train go by and, this is a different kind of train. That's nice. So I definitely get nerdy about it, and especially like the signal stuff, because it does get extremely complicated. And, every once in a while something come up that like, I don't understand how that works. And I go to the prints of, all the different circuits, and I follow the wire, and I see, all right, when this happened, this happened. When this happened, this happened. And, the whole chain reaction. And sometimes I'll sit there for half an hour just leafing through the pages until I figure out, okay, that's how that happened. And, it's nice. They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, which, isn't true. Because
right.
When they tell you have to be here at 7 and you want to sleep in, it's working.
Right, and
but
it's February. When it's 7 a.m. in Northeast February, you work a couple days in your life in that case, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really great. I think it's great. So how many family members do you have who have also worked the trains?
2.
2.
Yeah.
So not that much nepotism.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess not that much. It's funny. My dad got in because he was just at, the deli or something with his work group eating. And they said, hey, you could do what you're doing, but get paid more if you do it on the railroad. So, at first he wasn't interested, because I think he worked for the cable company. But, after a little while, they did something to screw him over at the cable company. He was like, let's find that guy that told us to work at Amtrak. And, so he went and worked there. And then my brother also works here.
Nice. So this is a family thing. And are you a single guy? You married? Where are you at family-wise?
Single. Yeah, single guy.
When you date, do your partners, is it like, I guess the basic question I'm asking, how much of a train guy are you? Like, is someone who marries you going to have to become part of this train culture? Or is this something that we can keep separate from our personal life? How much of it is? Historically, right, the image of the trains is if you're working the trains, like, your family is a train family.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy riding the trains, and, because it's something that, like, my dad understands. It's, it's what we talk about, but it's not, you definitely want to disconnect, when you go home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to leave it at home sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you're also out in museums. You're also out in the world beyond trains. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, New York City, it's right around the corner. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. The subways are also kind of trains, so that's fun, It cracks me up when you see like the news and like there's like this one person, I feel like half of America wants you to believe that the New York City subways are scary and dangerous. And I don't feel that at all. I love the New York City subway. I think it's a good way to get around.
Pretty reliable.
I mean, you probably I think you spend more time in New York, so you might have some more complaints, and you may have seen, one or two things that put you on edge. I don't know, but I've always felt safe in the subway.
I would say, I lived there 15 years, 16 years, and I would say, when they're a pain in the ass, they're a huge pain in the ass. But in general, the New York City subway station is probably one of the great wonders of the world. The fact that it's as elaborate as it is, it's running 24 hours above ground, below ground, under rivers, attached to bridges, through tunnels, all dug under a city with millions of people walking, driving, living right above it. It's miraculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Just beneath New York City is something that fascinates me, because it's, it's not just the subways, it's also their high voltage power lines. They have steam to heat places.
Oh, the steam pipes. Yep.
I have another brother who does HVAC, and, so, he doesn't do anything with steam because he lives, far from New York, but he also, gets nerdy about what he does. So, when I talk about New York City and the steam, it's he loves to talk about that, because it's just, first off, it's, really resourceful. We're boiling water anyway to make electricity. We may as well pipe that steam to, the Empire State Building and keep it warm. But just like the fact that exists is just, and it's under the ground, and every once in a while it billows up out from under the ground, and a few times it explodes. But
for people, there might be people here who are going, what are they talking about? It is true. There's a massive network of steam pipes, and there's steam generation. There's a lot of buildings in New York. I don't know if there's a lot, but there's at least a handful of buildings that are built to just sort of from the outside look like an average building, that inside are actually facilities generating a massive amount of steam that is sent through pipes under the city. And it's wild and it's strange. And there's a whole union, the Sandhogs, I think they call them. There's a lot of fascinating articles. There's a union that effectively is like the tunnelers, the ones who dig the tunnels for things like the steam and the subways. And you spend a lot of your life super deep underground, and a lot of them are ex-military. It's a union that really takes in a lot of combat veterans, and you go, man, you got some, guys who are down underground, maybe, historically some PTSD issues, way underneath Manhattan, New York, digging tunnels in the darkness. You go, this is a whole fascinating side of New York City that most people do not perceive exists.
Yeah. The Sandhogs are called urban miners, and they bore all the holes and they do all the digging and stuff. And I read a book called This Side of Brightness by Colin McCann, and it was about he likes to tell stories in a nonlinear way, and it jumps from generation to generation. And one of the generations was a guy that lived in a tunnel in New York City, who was a homeless man. And then a few generations back were the Sandhogs digging one of the subway tunnels from Manhattan to Queens. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of those guys, and this is a true part of the story. One of the guys boring the tunnel, the seam broke that held the water out, and he got sucked into the thing that was sucking the water out and thrown above water into the air. So he was deep under the river, and he got sucked up, thrown out, and landed on the water, and they came and rescued him, and one of them survived.
That's nuts. That's the craziest day of that person's life.
Like 1900 something.
That's the craziest thing that happened to that person in their entire life. By far.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You get sucked up by water pressure and flung through a dark tunnel up above Manhattan, New York. The high velocity, like you're almost like riding an Old Faithful style geyser above New York City, and you survive.
Yeah.
How do you ever think about anything else for the rest of your goddamn life? How do you just move on from that? I don't think you do. I think you wake up every day and it's the first thing you think about. You think about it 15 times a day in detail every day. And when you go to bed, you have trouble falling asleep because you still have the fear that maybe you're going to get sucked up and flung hundreds of feet into the sky again.
Yeah, it's probably what you see when you close your eyes, right?
Every time.
Yeah.
Now, you're working the trains, your dad worked the trains, your brother works HVAC, Northeasterners, union members.
Mm-hmm.
This is like proud American tradition, working class, generational family life.
Yeah.
It's been weird to be the working class Northeastern families. Been weird the past couple political cycles, huh? We don't need to get into it too much, but it's getting weird.
It is, yes. It's getting weird. When I first got hired, I just assumed that things were the way they always were. That it was the blue unions, and so I was saying things like every day, and somebody was finally like, you keep saying that, but I like the guy. So I was like, all right, I'll just keep it quiet. The one time, I don't want to get too political, but somebody said, think of something like everyone says that he's racist, about Trump. Can you think of something? And I listed like 4 things, and they were like, well, he owned the business, so it's fine that he did that. And I was like, okay, well, we're never going to see things the same. So,
yeah, I mean, I get the frustrations of the working class, the feeling of constantly being taken for granted by the Democratic Party, the assumption that the Democratic Party has had that working class votes are always going to go their way. I think it is pretty insulting. Mm-hmm. I understand why you'd feel burned, especially if you're sitting here and you're going, life is more expensive and you're not doing shit. And no matter how many times we vote for you, it seems like it keeps going in the wrong direction. Like, I get that. But to instead vote for somebody who is so vocally anti-union, and to have union members, like a decent chunk of them, vote for somebody, and then for people to act surprised that he turns around and fires, I think it was like between 1% and 2% of the entire unionized workforce in the country was federal workers who have now been fired. I go, ooh, that's a hoodwink. That's a snake oil. That's a bad combination of snake oil being sold to you, but also, let's be real, feeling completely taken for granted and feeling it completely like, oh, it's just assumed we're going to always vote one way because we always have, but you haven't done shit for us, and this is a results-oriented group of people. These are people who want to work hard, but they want to see results come from their hard work, and in good faith, if they vote for you, they want to see you work hard to get them shit and to make their lives easier. And it was taken for granted. And I get it. But goddamn, the idea that a guy could sneak in and take all those votes when he's flagrantly and proudly anti-union, I go, it's weird. You must be hearing some weird stuff out on those tracks. Oh, I cannot wait for the answer to this question. Cannot wait. We'll be right back. So happy to once again talk about Audible, a company that's been good to me, a company that's been good to my native land of New Jersey, and a company that's doing such great stuff, including Audible's Romance Collection, which has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what romance you're into, you can't be pinned down, unless, of course, the romance you're into involves being pinned down. You can find that. They have stuff about that in the collection. Here is your invitation to have it all. Maybe you fancy a dalliance with a duke. Maybe you prefer to shack up with a sexy billionaire. You can find a book boyfriend in the city. You can find another on the hockey field. Or if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Because Audible's romance collection is legit. You can hear modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest Romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, and Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. Plus, let's not deny it, all the steamy stuff. Audible has all that really steamy stuff too. I know that romance has become huge lately. People are loving it. I get why. And I'm telling you, Audible has a collection that will you everything you dream of right there. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/beautiful. Cooler temperatures are here, everybody. They're rolling in. And as always, Quince is where I go for my fall staples, especially when you want them to actually last. From cashmere to denim to boots, the quality holds up. The price blows me away. Quince has the kind of fall staples you'll wear nonstop. Super soft 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters start at just $60. Their denim is durable, it fits right. Their real leather jackets bring that clean classic edge without the elevated price tag. What makes Quince different? They partner directly with ethical factories. They skip the middlemen. You get the savings, and you get top-tier fabrics and craftsmanship at half the price of similar brands. I love this time of year, and not just for the weather, but when I can throw on a sweater, I feel like I managed to feel good, look good, still look casual. It's the type of time of year where I feel like I get to look at my best. And a huge, huge part of that is because of Quince. My sweaters from Quince are no joke. And I have to underline this. One of the frustrating things about sweaters, the seams in the armpits start to come undone, everybody. You start to see fraying at the edges. You sit here, you go, these things are expensive, and they fall apart. Not Quince. My Quince sweaters look as good as the day I took them out of the package, and they've become huge confidence items for me. Thank you, Quince. Keep it classic and cool this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. Free shipping, 365-day returns, quince.com/beautiful. Thanks again to our advertisers. Now let's finish off the phone call. You must be hearing some weird stuff out on those tracks.
Yeah. You know, and what do you do? You know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
No, me neither. At the end of the day, I'm an artist, but I'm from a working class Northeastern family, and I see it and I feel it. And it's weird times, my man.
You know, it's funny because, like, you know, the lobbying power that unions still have comes, you know, from the federal workers, like you said earlier, and teachers, which is, you know, most of them are like master's degree, and artists, you know, because a lot of like SAG-AFTRA and them are still like powerful unions. So it's kind of like the working class last hope is, you know, government statisticians and high school physics teachers,
sketch comedy writers,
that sit down and
yeah.
But
also the flight attendants.
All day.
The flight attendants have dug in hard. I gotta say, I was pretty impressed when the longshoremen a couple years ago, when their president went on TV and was like, straight up, like, I dare you to fuck with us. We'll just shut down the American economy. And I believe he had something along the lines like, if you fuck with us, like, you won't have access to bananas in 4 days. Like, I dare you to mess with the longshoremen. We'll shut everything down. your food will rot on the docks and supermarkets won't have bananas in 4 days. And very quickly it was like, okay, we're solving this one. But I tell you, Joe Biden was Mr. Union, and he messed with the railroads. He told the railroads, buckle to the owners on this one. And he could have just told the owners, buckle to the workers on this one. That was bad shit. And that's one of the main examples. I go, you want to lose a bunch of votes in Pennsylvania? Tell railroad workers that they have to buckle. Tell them they have to cave, that it's a government order. And then turn around and go on TV and say you're the most pro-union president of all time. This is the type of shit where I go, everybody's being tricked right now. It's histrionic. People are getting caught up in a fucking fever dream. But there are also demonstrable ways where people felt very, very let down and lied to. And this idea that you can go on TV constantly and say that you're the most pro-union guy and you're Mr. Scranton, but hey, railroad workers, I'm so sorry, you got to fucking buckle because money is money and this economy can't shut down. You want to lose a bunch of fucking blue-collar votes in Pennsylvania? Well, you figured out a great way to do it right there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel so. There's a couple things there. One is I feel like the news didn't really cover it correctly because they said like either Congress will pass this agreement or they'll go on strike, and those weren't the only two options. Congress could have passed any agreement. They could have said, this agreement plus they get 5 sick days, and that's what we're voting for. Because they have the power to force the agreement to be agreed upon, not just on the labor side, but also on the carrier side. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the media manufacturing consent, and I agree with you. I think the Democrats did work very hard to lose the votes that they lost.
Yeah,
and it's a shame, but it's kind of the house we built.
I know. Well, hopefully we have some real soul searching and some reckoning and some honesty about it. And like you said, you don't want to talk politics that much. I don't either. I do have a question for you. You work on the trains. Do you prefer to, do you ride the trains a lot? Like if you have to get somewhere and car is an option versus train or plane, do you jump on the trains?
Yeah, no, I ride the train. I'm definitely an advocate for public transit. SEPTA is facing a crisis right now, and the Pennsylvania State Senate is holding their ground that they're not going to support them, and it's a shame because transit's necessary. It makes the world safer from bad drivers or people with suspended licenses not having another option.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I just think transit creates a better world.
I'm with you. What's the longest train ride you've ever taken?
Probably only to Boston.
From Pennsylvania?
From Trenton.
From Trenton. I've been on that Amtrak. I've picked that same line up in New York.
Yeah.
I've gone from New York to Savannah, Georgia, one shot. Sleeper car.
Yeah.
By myself. It was
that's why it's better than
best.
driving. There's no sleeper car when you're by yourself in a car.
To take a shower on a moving train, I felt like a god. I was like, what luxury is this? What luxury is this that we have in the modern day? That I can be on a train hurtling its way down the eastern coast of America and I can take a shower before wandering down to the dining car.
Yeah.
To be seated with strangers and then we have conversation. Strangers whose you pick your time for your meal and then you sit and you eat with strangers and you talk with them like actual human beings who look each other in the eye on the trains. There's something so good about it.
Yeah. How about international travel? I feel like I heard somebody famous recently say that they never went overseas, and I thought that was crazy. I can't remember who it was, but have you been to Europe?
In Europe, let's see, I've been to Italy, England, Ireland, Scotland, and...
Oh, yeah, that's right, because you have the Irish citizenship.
I have my Irish citizenship, yeah. So I went all over the island. I went to my grandfather's village. I've done the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland twice. I've been to England a bunch of times. And I think that's it as far as Europe. I think that's it.
So for a beautiful anonymous fan, this is going to be a weird thing to say, but I don't believe in New Year's resolutions.
Okay.
I think, if you want to make a change, I say make it a right now resolution. So, probably about a year or so ago, I thought I want to travel more. So I went to Amsterdam earlier this year.
Love that. How was it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really cool. It was, it was interesting to see a different culture, different way of living. I also rode their trains, which was nice.
Were you in your mind kind of checking out their switching platforms, wondering who's got the better infrastructure? Was there a part of you that was sussing them out?
Yeah, when I took a picture of one of their switch machines, because it was not a model that I had recognized, and I thought, man, I never saw anything like this. So I took a picture of it, and when I got back, I actually texted my boss. I was like, what kind of nerd am I that I took a picture of a switch machine while I was on vacation?
Did he get nerdy about it, or was he just clowning on you?
No, he said the same thing, that he was over in Europe, and he was, checking out their infrastructure a few years ago. So,
did you enjoy the European train experience? Was it everything it's cracked up to be? Are the legends of its efficiency overblown, or did it come through and impress you?
Well, they were all on time, so I'll say that. I mean, there's definitely apparently Germany is known for not being on time, but
okay,
yeah, the Dutch rail was definitely very nice.
I thought Germany was known for its efficiency.
No, yeah, it's a thing. Deutsche Bahn is apparently always late. It's a kind of a trope.
Damn, this goes against the cliche. We got to get it together. We got to get these. Come on, Deutsche Bahn, step up. American podcasts are actively judging you. Let's get to work.
That is ridiculous. That's like a guy from Pennsylvania offering to buy a guy from New Jersey a map of New Jersey, man. That's ridiculous.
Listen, you and I both know New Jersey Transit, if there's one transit system in this world that needs to get its shit together, it's probably New Jersey Transit. 2 years ago, I bet you were picking up were you picking up emergency calls from New Jersey Transit? Because when it got too hot, the whole system started physically melting. Do you remember this? That the actual switching boxes and wires were melting and trains were getting stalled out for hours at a time. Did you get to pick up overtime on that?
I'm trying to remember. I feel like that was before my time, or at least before I was qualified.
That was wild shit. I was on a New Jersey Transit train that stopped completely. This was like a year ago. It stopped completely, and then for 30 minutes, no announcement. Nobody's on the loudspeaker being like, guys, here's what the hell is going on. Nothing like that. Then it just starts moving backwards, which was so flagrant that people on the train started laughing. People were laughing out loud, not just me. People are laughing, wait, they make us sit here forever, and now it's moving backwards, and no one's going to say a word about it. And then they pulled us back into Newark Broad Street, and they go, this train is out of service. It wound up being because of the whole, things were melting. The actual track infrastructure was melting in the August heat. And they go, okay, so we're pulling back into Newark Broad Street, everybody. You can make your way to the city from here. You can take the PATH train. Didn't have the balls to announce the PATH train does not go to Newark Broad Street. The PATH train's at Newark Penn Station. And I don't know, I think actually Newark is having a moment. I love the city of Newark. historically, the reputation of Newark is not crushing it to the average suburbanite who was getting kicked off that train. Many people grew up hearing stories that Newark was a dangerous place. Now, I think Newark is actually crushing it so hard. I think the leadership in Newark is bouncing back, and I think you're going to hear more about the city of Newark in coming years because I think things are going right. That being said, you're seeing like these families trying to make their way to the city for the day, being told you're going to have to wander through Newark, this city you've heard legends about, with your 4-year-old and your 2-year-old. Find your way to Penn Station. Have fun. New Jersey Transit.
Yeah, this is the city that's famous for inventing carjacking. So,
yes.
Keep that in mind as you wander the streets and hope you end up at the right train station.
That was its reputation for a long time. Now, I think it's overblown, and I think actually the city is doing a lot of things right now. But, man, to see a lot of families going like, what are you talking about? We have to just find our way from one side of Newark to the other with a kid in a stroller, and then just find our way to the city. That's the New Jersey Transit experience. Do trained people sit here and go, New Jersey Transit sucks ass? Do they talk about it? Do you guys know it on your end?
I have a special spot in my heart for New Jersey Transit.
You're a very nice person. You're a very nice person.
Yeah. And, you definitely see some interesting characters on the New Jersey Transit.
Oh, yeah. And that Northeast Corridor line that goes up from Trenton to New York, which it sounds like you take a whole bunch. You know that when you get to New Brunswick, you might have a couple real characters getting on that train. You know which stops. Yeah. There's a couple stops.
There have been times where I rode a transit train and just put my shirt over my nose the entire time. And I just was, had my headphones on, watching a video on my phone with my shirt over my nose because it's like, it smells in here.
Welcome to New Jersey, my friend. Welcome to New Jersey.
Yeah. Listen, it really is a beautiful state. It is. But there are two sides to that coin.
Andrea has informed me that Andrea takes the Amtrak to Boston on a regular basis. And I did not know this. Apparently, if you take the overnight, there's a 3-hour-long pause when you get to New York City and you are not allowed to leave the train. This is not...
Yeah, that's quality right there. I like that.
This is... We used to be a country known for our machine-like efficiency. This is a country that... When we had to fight the Nazis, everyone got to work, and we cranked out infrastructure, boats, tanks, plane engines at a rate the world could not believe. And now if you want to take public transportation, you have to sit upright in a train for 3 hours as it's paused, and you have to pay more money than it would take to fly sometimes for the honor of doing that. We got to get our act together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
What do you anticipate your life looks like 5 years from now?
I don't know. Probably much the same, I'll keep up that non-New Year's resolution of seeing the world. I plan on going to Spain next year.
I like that.
Yeah. And just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
Another thing I want to say another thing about while I was in Amsterdam, they have a resistance museum of how they handled being occupied by the Nazis. And
sounds
amazing
good.
Museum.
Yeah, it sounds really good, but really intense.
Yeah, I wish it didn't seem so applicable, to life. But there was a lot of cool things. But one of my just it wasn't even about any of the, relevant history. It was just, you go into a side room that was about what was going on in Indonesia at the time, because it was, that was part of the Netherlands, and then Japan conquered it during the war. And, they say, look, we use the terms that, that it was called at the time, we're not, trying to be offensive. And they said, although we look at this part of our history today with a sense of shame, it's important for us to, understand and I just thought, so many of the fights about education that's going on right now is because we can't say that sentence. We can't say, hey, listen, a lot of great things happened. A lot of great things were built, but the fact that we did it with enslaved people, that's shameful. The fact that we kicked the indigenous people out and made them go west, that's shameful. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, because that's what they say. That's the argument is like, oh, it makes the students feel bad about their heritage. It's like, that's not the intention. It's just to say, like, there is a such thing as right and wrong, and this was wrong.
Yeah, it's very, very pronounced in recent years that the pushback against these exact things, I'm with you. It's very strange to me. Like, I don't see at all how it's controversial for a school kid to be told slavery was shameful, and then there's so many examples in which the system was rigged against black people for many, many decades after slavery, and you could argue that there's ways the system is still rigged right now, or at the very least, that the rigging of those systems is still negatively affecting the black community today, and that we still as a country have a lot of room to grow and necessity to grow. Like, why, in what world is that? It's a factual statement, and I don't understand why some people want to go, no, remove any book that mentions these things from a school's library. That, to me, is it's creepy and strange. It's dystopian.
Yeah. And people also hate the phrase white privilege, and it's like, I'm not saying you didn't work for it, because here's my example of white privilege. It's my life. I got this job because, my dad had the connections. My dad got the job because he was sitting there with his group of workers eating pizza, and somebody said, hey, come work on the railroad. And I just think, would that guy in 1980, whatever, have gone up to a group of black guys, with, in a bucket truck and said, hey, come work with me? Maybe not.
Yeah.
And I do my job well, I like to think, and I do work hard, and it's, and I don't think that I should be fired to give somebody else a job, but I understand that is a place of privilege.
Yeah. And it's just, it is very, very strange to me that it's become such a thing to react so violently against. The idea of, like, if I get pulled over by a cop, I have less reasons to be nervous than somebody whose skin color is different than mine. Like, that's an understandable fact based on many, many, many examples in this country and the historical roots of policing in this country. And I don't find that it's a particularly troublesome or aggressive thing to say. And our inability to say it affects our inability to change it. And I often find that the same people who push back against knowledge being spread are also the same people that go like, well, why do we need to talk about it all the time? And it's like, well, talking about it feels a lot more normal than pulling books off of shelves in school libraries. That feels abnormal to me. Being honest feels more normal than trying to pretend or hide actual objective history. It's strange. I'm with you. When you go on these trips overseas, like when you go to Spain and Amsterdam, are you going by yourself? You're a single guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the shit.
Yeah, solo travel.
Oh, that's...
Yeah. I don't know. People act like that's crazy. I don't know.
It's not crazy. Can I tell you, I am obsessed with my son. You can ask anyone who knows me. Yeah. All I want to talk about is my kid. That being said, the idea that you get to just fuck off and go to Amsterdam and go see a bunch of museums and then meet people and hang out and go out and do whatever you want at night. Holy shit, am I jealous.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
You don't have to...
It's nice, you know?
Oh, you don't have to drag somebody else's bags onto a plane. That's the best. Yeah, enjoy it while you're young, my friend.
Yeah.
Our time on the free feed is up. I have loved talking about trains with you. I've loved talking about life with you. Are you down to hang out and do some questions behind the paywall?
Yes.
That sounds great. Everybody, you can sign up to hear more with our caller and all of our callers. BeautifulAnonymous.com. Also makes your episodes ad-free. Also gives you the secret number once a month. And guess what? This caller may or may not have had access to one of those secret numbers. And go ahead, sign up. Get more with all the callers. Thank you so much for listening. And caller, thank you so much for speaking with these people.
You're welcome.
Caller, thank you so much. I am kind of a nerdy train guy, deep in my heart, and I know it. Thank you for allowing me to ask you all my nerdy questions. Thank you to Andrea Quinn for your production services. Thank you to Shellshag for the theme song. punchup.live/Chris Gethard if you want tickets to shows I'm doing. The voicemail number is 973-306-4676. Instagram is Beautiful Anonymous Pod. Join the Facebook group. Support my new special. Thanks, everybody, so much. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. You know, it's so strange, too, now that newspapers aren't physically printing anymore. Kids won't have... That's like a very traditional childhood activity. Take the silly putty, flatten it out.
Have a frame of Garfield on your silly putty.
Push it down on the comics page, and then you get to carry it away, and you have Garfield on your silly putty. You got the Family Circus on your silly putty. Kids will never know this simple joy.
Yeah. Instead, they got AI chatbots, you know? What's the world coming to?
Yes. Now they have Grok. Now Grok Grok inserts facts into their head. Grok tell you Family Circus. You know to read Family Circus. Grok tell you. Like I said, I'm very tired today. Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.